Pennsylvania, gang. That's Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where even the legacy media, those who actually bothered to cover that, had to admit that Cackle's Kamala was absolutely humiliated in the presence of the one and only Donald J. Trump. And that reaction is actually reflective of what's happening in the electorate at large. Voting has already started, and we got the real-time data that's going to absolutely blow your mind. I promise you, what I'm about to show you in this live stream is going to absolutely stun you. But first, talk about stunning. We got a bombshell revelation coming out. Yeah, the debate was indeed fixed. Yes, surprise, surprise. And this bombshell is coming from none other than a fellow Democrat. A Democrat is coming forward with evidence of ABC's debate fix. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It is Livestream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve. A little late today. Your Patriot professor's a little flummoxed getting all this data gathered for you today, but I am here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We're live on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, you name it. We got a jam-packed show for you today. We are going to dive right in. Just a quick reminder, if you want to ask me your questions, I know you get a lot of questions, but because YouTube has unfortunately suspended our super chats, we've been completely demonetized. Just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com. There you go. You see it? My cute little face there. Fight.turleytalks.com. Join any one of our levels of support, and you have instant access to our very own virtual platform. It is uncancelable, and there you can ask me any and all your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them right here live on this live stream. So just click on that link below. Go to fight.turleytalks.com. Join any level of support that you like, and you can ask me all your questions, and I will be happy to answer them on this live stream. All right, we've got a bombshell revelation about the Tuesday night debate. And ironically, it is coming from a Democrat, a former Clinton advisor to boot. Dude, I hope you have life insurance. Veteran Democrat pollster Mark Penn is coming out and openly calling for a formal review of all of ABC News' internal texts and emails to find out to what extent they deliberately rigged the debate in Kamala Harris's favor. Now, Penn is calling on ABC News to do the investigation. Of course, no one is holding their breath when it comes to that. You may have heard that the top executive for Disney, which owns ABC, this executive, Dana Walden, she's actually like best friends with Kamala. She apparently introduced Kamala to her husband. Again, this insanity, this bureaucrat billionaire partnership, this is all part of what Joel Kotkin of Chapman University refers to as the refeudalization of our society. We talk about this a lot on our channel, where billionaires and bureaucrats are increasingly aligning. They're coming together and amassing an absolutely unprecedented amount of power and wealth in the hands of very few, all the while the general population becomes more and more serf-like, right? You will own nothing and you will be happy, right? So that's refeudalization. This is why the Democrats are now officially the party of the regime. Yeah, I mean, even Robert Kennedy recognizes that. Everybody, more and more, are recognizing that. They're the party of the establishment, the permanent political class. Nevertheless, Penn wrote a scathing op-ed in the Wall Street Journal the other day, basically accusing ABC of election interference, of depriving the nation of an integral electoral and democratic process by virtue of their blatant bias and double standards. Here's Mark Penn just the other day on Fox.
My reaction is I'm really concerned about what ABC did. When the refs put their finger on the scale, you got to throw out the score of the game. What would have happened in that debate had they challenged Harris and said, you know, that's not right what you said there about Charlottesville. Right. We don't know how she would have reacted and then Trump wouldn't have to spend all his time on the debate center. I think they did a real disservice to the voters of America when they did that, and they put in jeopardy the institutions of debate.
Well, and look, for the candidate on your side of the political aisle, it might have helped her. You know, I mean, if you want to get sharp, you have to rub up against something that will sharpen you. And it might have even helped her quiet down those in your party who still have so many questions about her policies.
That's a very interesting point. The more the permanent political class coddles their candidates, the weaker they become. The more they throw all of this weaponization at our candidates, the stronger they become. Well, now it's being widely reported that Penn, Mark Penn, is saying he has hard evidence of the rigging. It looks like there is indeed a whistleblower coming forward inside ABC News who sent him some emails or Slack messages that show an explicit intent on sabotaging Trump in favor of Harris. So there are rumblings online of an affidavit coming from a whistleblower from inside ABC coming out in the next couple of days. This whistleblower will testify that he has evidence that Kamala was given the questions ahead of time and was also assured that Trump would face so-called fact-checking, which turns out not to be so factual, from the moderators, whereas Kamala would not. So we've got a possible whistleblower coming forward, and we've got a former Democrat, an advisor, a former advisor to the Clintons, calling for a full investigation to the obvious fraud behind this debate. So we'll see what happens there. But there's no question that regardless of what actually comes out of all of that, ABC, they absolutely humiliated themselves in front of the entire nation. No one, I mean, outside of the ones who were drinking the blue Kool-Aid, no one is going to trust them ever again. That was the last presidential debate they'll ever do. They absolutely humiliated themselves, especially given the fact that Kamala got literally no bounce whatsoever from that debate. In fact, it's the opposite. Here's a rather anecdotal piece of evidence. This is fascinating in terms of just what's going on here on social media. ABC posted on their TikTok channel both Trump's and Kamala's closing statements. Look at the numbers, all right? So they're closing statements from the debate. ABC puts them both up there. Look at the numbers. Kamala's has been viewed 4 million times. Trump, at the time of this posting, had been viewed over 18 million. I just saw it right before we got on. Like I said, I was number crunching. I was data crunching here. That's why I was so late. It's over 23 million. It's literally 5 times the views Kamala got. She got a couple of 100,000 likes. At this point, he got 1.4 million. I'm sure it's up around 2 million. Again, it's just a radically stark contrast between how the broader voting population watched that debate, who are angry about our economy. They're angry about the southern border. They're angry about inflation. They're angry about jobs. They're angry about rising violent crime. They're angry about us almost getting into World War III. And Trump was angry. And so Trump actually, ironically, ended up embodying the sentiments of the vast majority of voters. While Kamala's just sitting there smiling. Let's talk climate change. Again, the contrast could not possibly be more stark between how the people watched the debate and how the elite pundit class watched and, frankly, fabricated the debate because they have no confidence in their own. So it's no coincidence that we're seeing more and more of the pundit class begin to inadvertently admit that Trump has actually won the debate. No question, some are doubling down on these puff polls that are coming out, these response bias polls that inordinately sample Democrat constituencies. But there are more and more pundits nevertheless recognizing that Kamala came out of that debate actually less popular, not more popular. And again, we talked about this several times throughout the last couple of days, pundits, they were just shocked. They were beside themselves to see what came out of Reuters, of all places. It was a focus group of undecided voters. They interviewed 10 undecided voters. It was just a focus group post-debate. 6 of them said, yeah, we're voting Trump. 6 of them, 60%. 3 said, now I'll go Harris. 1 remained undecided. But it was the focus group broke 2-1 to Trump. It was the same thing with the CNN flash poll, where they found that Kamala actually lost support on the economy and Trump gained support post-debate, even though the majority of voters for CNN thought Kamala Harris won. Surprise, surprise. It's a CNN audience. But that, of course, begs the question, who really did win? Well, there's really, in the end, ultimately only one answer to that. We need to see how people are voting, don't we? We need to see how people are voting. We got a little bit of a sample, a taste of how people were voting on TikTok, but how are they voting in the actual election? We now know. The voting for 2024 has officially begun. It started last weekend. We got the real-time numbers, gang. Got them right here. You want to know what they say? Oh, this is fun. Oh, I'm having too much fun. Gang, strap yourselves in. You're going to absolutely love this. But first, we do have some exciting news for you later on today. We've got, if you don't know, we've got an online Stop the Steal workshop today. You're not going to want to miss this. It's going live at 3:30 p.m. today. Write that down, 3:30 p.m., September 13th today. And you don't want to miss it. Wait a minute, is it Friday 13th today? I didn't even realize that. Ooh, creepy. So this workshop is going to be a game changer for anyone who's serious about safeguarding the integrity of our elections. We're bringing in Ray D'Agostino. He's a county commissioner in the key swing state of Pennsylvania, no less. And he's been on the front lines fighting to protect our vote. Ray will be revealing practical, hands-on strategies that you can use in your local communities to ensure that our elections remain fair and free from fraud. All right. So what's more, this isn't just a sit and listen session. You'll have the chance to ask Ray any question you got, whether you're curious about how to spot voter fraud, what actions you can take locally, or how to get involved in protecting the vote. Ray will be there to give you the answers that you need. This kind of insider knowledge, gang, it's priceless for anyone who's passionate about defending our republic. And here's the best part. This workshop is free if you're one of our insiders, but only for a limited time. Once the live event wraps up, it's going behind a paywall for only our gold level members. So this is your chance to access an exclusive live event and join a community of like-minded patriots. So make sure you don't miss this exclusive opportunity to learn directly from an expert who's been on the ground fighting the good fight. So if you're fired up and ready to take real action to protect the integrity of our elections, this is your moment. Click on that link below, become an insider, and join us live. I'll be there at 3:30 p.m. today. Let's make sure we keep our elections secure, and let's do it together. All right. Time to get your mind absolutely blown. You ready? You're going to want a pen. I got 2. Where's my other pen? I thought I had it. I got 2 pens. You're going to want to write these numbers down. This is good. Show this to your friends far and wide. It's going to blow you away. You ready? This is a wonderful visual here to show you exactly where we are in this race as compared to where we were in 2020. Now, again, I want to remind everyone in 2020, okay, even with all of the shenanigans, unprecedented, 70% of the population voted by mail. Even with all of that, Joe Biden only managed to squeak to quote, win by 40,000 votes. Let that hit you. The size of a town. He won by 10,000 in Arizona, 10,000 in Georgia, 20,000 in Wisconsin. So keep that in mind. November 3rd, Biden won by just 40,000 votes. It was the second closest election in American history, second only, I believe, to 2000 of Bush Gore. Now, take a look at this. We're looking at it there. No. Back, boys. There you go. Excellent. The real clear politics average in 2020, okay, that's the RCP. That's the averaging out of all the different polls out there, the good, the bad, the ugly. The RCP average had Biden plus 7.2 over Trump back in 2020. That's the RCP aggregate, all the different polling, okay, all averaged out, and Biden came out plus 7.2. Harris today, that same RCP average, has a lead of 1.5. She's been stubbornly stuck around that 1.5 range, by the way, for the last 4 weeks. So you'll note that differential between the Democrat lead in 2020 and the Democrat lead today represents, and you'll see it there with the R plus 5.7, it represents a 5.7% swing to the Republican, a 5.7 swing to Trump. In other words, Trump is doing nearly 6 points better than he was doing in 2020. Now you look down and you see 538. Now 538, if you don't know, they're the most liberal of the polling aggregates, but this is what they had. This is what they gave Biden back in 2020. Or averaging out all their polls, they gave Biden an 8.4% lead over Trump. Okay. And by the way, Biden, quote, won by just half of that. Okay. 4%. So they were pretty off. But regardless. All right. Today, 2024, according to 538, Harris has a 2.8 lead. Once again, what does that represent? Notice a 5.6% swing to Trump. This is why I said you want to write these numbers down. These are fascinating. Almost identical to what the RCP average has in terms of the swing. They both are nearly 6-point swings to Trump. Then we have, and I want to introduce this to you, we have On Point. Now, if you don't know, the polling aggregate On Point has Biden up, had Biden up 5.3 in 2020. That was within a point of what he won in 2020. Biden, again, quote, won by 4.5. So the On Point polling aggregate came within 0.8 of nailing the 2020 election. They were certainly on point. That's how accurate they were. They were by far the single most accurate of the polling aggregates in 2020. Look at where they have the race today. The single most accurate polling aggregate of 2020 has Trump in the lead. This is, again, with all the polls aggregate. Now, the reason why they have difference, not all of them have the same polls. They'll bring in other polls. That's why this is so important, this exercise. This is literally representing all the polls if we take RCP 538 and On Point, right? So On Point has their own collection of polls that they aggregate. And according to their aggregated polling, Trump's in the lead. And it's not that he's just in the lead. He's got a 2.3% lead. And that represents, according to their numbers, a 7.6%, a near 8-point swing to Trump. Pretty cool. But it gets even better. Now, what you do is you average out those swings to find out the total polling aggregate average with virtually all the polls out there. So you take the 5.7 swing from RCP average, you take the 5.6 swing from 538, You take the 7.6 swing from on point and you average it all out. And what do you get? You see it below. You get an average of a 6.3 swing to Trump. 6.3 swing in this election, 2024 from 2020 to 2024. Now, you might want to write that number down, 6.3, because we're going to do a little magic here. Last bit of math. As we said, in 2020, the popular vote was Biden plus 4.5. And so all we do, as you see in this, all we do is adjust that with the 6.3 swing to Trump to get the estimated popular vote for 2024. What I like about this method is it's combining polls with the actual election turnout, right? That's why 2020 is so important there. So what we're basically doing here is we are subtracting Biden's 4.5 from Trump's 6.3. And what do we get? We get a near +2 Trump electorate for 2024. We got the swings. We average out the swings. We get a Trump point plus 6.3. We subtract Biden's swing that he got, as it were, the margin he got, 4.5 from the 6.3, and we get a near +2 Trump electorate for 2024. Trump 1.8, plus 1.8. Now, notice, gang, seriously, take notice. This is so freaking cool. Take a look. If you've got it, if you're not listening by way of our 20 million download podcast, if you're watching the screen, what does that 1.8 almost reflect? I think it's just a 0.5 off. It's nearly exactly what the on-point aggregate, remember the most accurate poll aggregator for 2020, it's almost to the number what they got for their swing to Trump. They've got Trump at 2.3 ahead. The averaged out numbers are Trump 1.8. So the averaged out numbers are 0.5 near the on point +2 Trump electorate. So what does a 1.8 Trump electorate look like on the electoral map, you may be asking? You guys already told me. All right, Josh, you're ahead of me. Awesome. Well, see for yourself. There it is. That's what a 1.8 Trump plus 1.8 Trump electorate looks like. It is Trump winning the electoral votes with 8 more than he won in 2016. That is what the electoral map looks like as of today when you average out literally all of the polling. Not this poll versus that poll, no cherry picking, nothing. You average out all the polling, and that's the map you're looking at in November. Oh, but it gets better. Oh, it gets so much better. Even if we got rid of the on-point aggregate, the one that shows Trump in the lead by 2 points, even if we got rid of that, and we just kept the RCP and the 538 polling aggregates that both show Kamala with a slight lead, the average swing to Trump comes out as 5.65, which means that it's still a plus 1.2 Trump electoral map. And the way that works, of course, is that Trump always ends up outperforming his polling. That's why it's so important to have the 2020 actual election results percentages in our total as we assess these things. Either way, if we just take the 2 aggregates that have Kamala in the lead, or if we take all 3 of the aggregates, either way, it's Trump +1 or Trump +2 electorate, both of which represent an electoral landslide. Now, let's test the predictive accuracy of this sort of meta model. Remember, the election has already started with vote by mail. It started in North Carolina. It started in Florida. So we already have real-time data as to how the election is playing out. So how well does this model that predicts this +2 Trump electorate, how well is it jiving with what's happening in the actual vote? Because we got the numbers. How do you keep an idiot in suspense? No. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is great. And you're going to love it too. First, gang, again, just as a reminder, with the election getting closer every day, I know what's on your mind. How do we ensure that our election is secure and that every vote counts? Time is running out, and we need answers now. That's why we're holding the Stop the Steal online workshop today at 3:30 p.m. Ray D'Agostino, a county commissioner in the key swing state of Pennsylvania with hands-on experience in election and security, will dive deep into the critical strategies needed to protect the integrity of our elections. He'll cover things like how to identify and counter common tactics used to undermine election security. He'll look at the latest updates on securing election infrastructure and practical steps that you can take right now to monitor and safeguard your local elections. You also have the chance to ask Ray any questions you might have, getting direct answers on issues that matter to you. This live workshop is free for all Insiders members, but once it's over, it goes behind a paywall. So you don't want to miss this crucial opportunity to stay informed and make a difference. So just click on that link below, become an Insider member at any level, whatever works for you right now. And I'll see you at 3:30 p.m. today. It's going to be absolutely amazing. All right. In Florida, where voting has already started, there are 3 counties that are considered bellwethers for the national electorate in terms of how they predict margins. So we've got Duval, we've got Pinellas, and we've got Hillsborough. Okay, some of the two, one is blue, one is purple, the other's red, moves red. So this data, by the way, comes from Eric Dougherty. He's a Floridian poll analyst. It's brilliant. So there are 3 counties that are considered bellwethers for determining the voting margin of the electorate as a whole, the national electorate. So let me first show you what that means. Duval County went with Trump in 2016 by about 1.5, as you see, plus 1.5. But unfortunately, shame on you, Duval, they switched to Biden in 2020 by plus 4. Same with Pinellas. Pinellas switched to Biden by just 0.2 points. And Hillsborough, which is deep blue, they went with Biden by 6.9 points. They had previously gone for Hillary around that, I think by 6 points, and then I think their margins expanded for Biden. But what's so interesting is that these counties form a kind of microcosmic mix of the voting patterns of the nation as a whole. So if you average out the difference between how these counties voted in 2016 versus how they voted in 2020, you'll find that there was a 2.3% shift to the Democrats among these 3 counties averaged out. 2.3%. Now, what's so fascinating is that the actual national shift was 2.36 points to the Democrats. I know Biden won by 4.5, but the actual Democrat shift of the population that came out that identified as Democrat, it was a shift of 2.36 points from 2016 to 2020. So these counties averaged out are 2.3 to the Democrats, and the national average was 2.36. So these counties averaged out came within 0.6 of a point in their lineup with the margin shifts. Pretty astonishing, right? So obvious, and as I understand it, that's the norm for these counties. So obviously the question now is, What are they showing now? Voting has already started in Florida. So what are these counties showing? What are the numbers that they're predicting, as it were? Let's start with the raw numbers. In Duval, do we have those up? Yes, thank you, Josh. In Duval, the Republican request. Oh, and Micah too. I don't want to leave Micah out. In Duval, the Republican requests by mail, votes by mail, are up nearly 12, plus 12, 11.6. In Hillsborough, Republicans are up by 5. And in Pinellas, Republicans are up by nearly 3. So far, that's pretty cool. We got a clean sweep. The 3 bellwether counties, they ain't looking like 2020 no more. They are clear. Oh my God. I'm turning into Kamal Harris. Those 3 bellwether counties are clearly swinging to Trump. 2 of them back to Trump. Thank you very much. One of them, latecomer. We appreciate it. So those numbers, just like with the polling aggregates above, those numbers represent the vote swing to Trump in this election cycle. But that's not where the magic is. It's not just a clean sweep we're seeing. Ready to get your mind blown? It's not just that voters are swinging to Trump in all 3 of these bellwether counties. What have we yet to do? We did it in the first thing with the blue, comparing 2016 to 2020. What have we yet to do? Well, we have to average out that swing, don't we? To get the average swing of these bellwethers, because that's what the counties are bellwethers of. In what direction, by how much is the vote swinging across the nation? And let me see if you could do it. Do you mind putting those numbers back up there? Josh or Micah, who's ever behind the magic there? Yeah, there you go. Let me see you guys do it. Who's got their calculators? Grab your phone, right? Average out the Republican swing from these 3 bellwether counties. I think it's cool to just round them off. So just add up 12, 5, and 3. 12, 5, and 3. And then divide by 3. What's your average? What's the average swing? 6.7. 6.7% swing to Trump. Would anyone in the chat like to remind us all of what was the average polling aggregate swing? What was the average polling aggregate swing? Remember? The average swing to Trump from all the polling aggregates? What was it? It was 6.3. I was lazy. I'm sorry, you saw me running to get here. I should have added, I should have done 11.6, 4.9, and 2.7 and not averaged them out, because it may have just absolutely nailed it. Maybe you guys could check it out for yourself and confirm that. If we round it off, we get 6.7 as our average swing to Trump. What were the aggregates? What was their average? 6.3. According to both the aggregate average as well as the actual voting in bellwether counties, your average swing to Trump is now just over 6.3. And a 6-point swing to Trump is a +2 electorate, and a +2 electorate is an electoral landslide. Now, this, of course, mirrors Florida as a whole. If you don't know, I mean, again, it just gets better and better. The Democrat lead in the vote by mail request, the Democrat lead, and Democrats always have a lead, by the way. Well, it's just been slashed in half from 2020. They had a 13.5 lead. Now they barely have a 7-point lead. And remember, Republicans crushed them back in even when they had that 13.5 lead. Republican vote by mail requests are up 6.3% across the state. 6.3. Where did we hear that number? Interesting. All right. Well, we'll just keep going across this. I feel like Nostradamus. Yes. So they're up 6.3 across the state. And keep in mind, Trump won Florida handily in 2020, even with the Democrat leads there. By the way, they're even up more. These vote by mail requests are up even more than 2022, when Ron DeSantis absolutely crushed Charlie Crist for by 20 points. Also, something that's rather noteworthy. This is the first election. I don't know how many people notice this. Election analysts have certainly noticed. This is the first election that Florida is no longer considered a swing state. Have you noticed that? Three swing states of 2020 are no longer swing states. Iowa, Ohio, and Florida, because they've all gone solid red by like double digits. And what's so interesting is that historically, since 1860, he who wins those three states, Iowa, Ohio, Florida, fun fact, always wins the national election. And that's been the case since 1860. There have only been two exceptions. 1960, when even Democrats admit it was rife with election fraud. And of course, 2020. I'll leave what we're all thinking unsaid. And look at this, gang. Republican requests for vote by mail, they're up literally everywhere, even in the bluest of blue counties in Florida. They're up 2.4 in Broward. They're up 4.5 in Orange. They're up 8.2 in Osceola. Miami-Dade is Republican plus 6.6. Miami-Dade is like literally red right now. That's been the most amazing flip of late. Duval is Republican plus 11.6. And keep in mind, virtually all of these are were traditionally Democrat strongholds. Even the bluest of blue counties in Florida, Republicans are consistently outperforming 2020 numbers. That's what we want to see. Everywhere we look, we're seeing these 4, 5, 6, 7-point swings to the Republicans, precisely as the polling aggregates predicted. Let's take a look at what's going on, the latest in North Carolina, because it's pretty astonishing stuff. Take a look at these numbers. I mean, they're just insane right now. Vote by mail requests among Democrats are down nearly 10 points, 9.78% from 2020. But look at Republicans and independents. Again, we're seeing the same thing. Combined, they're up 9.5%, literally on par with the Democrat decline. Republicans are up 4.24%. Independents are up 5.26%. And keep in mind, all the independent polls are showing that the independents are swinging way to Trump. Some show a double-digit lead. Some show a high single-digit lead. Also in North Carolina, it's not just more Republicans that are voting by mail. More whites are voting than in 2020. And the reason why that's so significant is that Trump has doubled his support among white voters since 2020. Trump beat Biden with whites by 7 points, which was actually historically a rather on the low side for the Republican. But now polls are showing that white support for Trump has absolutely skyrocketed. It's doubled that. It's now 15 points. And to make matters worse, the black vote by mail requests are down significantly. Blacks were voting 16% mail-in ballot requests in 2020. That number's dropped to just over 11%. And to make things even worse, more blacks are voting for Trump than ever before, upwards of 20%. That would be a high, 21, 22%, but a low in 2024 looks like it's going to be 13, 14, 15%. That's still unprecedented. So less blacks are voting in North Carolina. At the same time, more are voting for Trump in an election that's seeing more white and Republican voting than in 2020, with whites doubling their support for Trump. So we're seeing how North Carolina in real time is actually playing out what the polling aggregate average predicts. It's no wonder that the Democrat polling wonder kid, Nate Silver, they hate him for this right now. He's getting a lot of pressure to take these numbers down. He's still giving Trump a massive lead in his election model forecast, a near 24-point lead. In fact, Trump even went up a point since the debate. Trump increased his chances of winning the night of the debate. So Silver is widening Trump's lead, even though all his Democrat establishment buddies are literally begging him to go along with the fabricated narrative that the world suddenly thinks Kamala's the second coming. She's so fun. Joy, joy, joy. It's not working. Everyone sees it's a total fraud. It's a fiction. The actual real-time votes are not even remotely reflecting this contrived deep state narrative. And to make matters even worse, Kamala is right back where the Democrats started with working class voters. Now, again, this is such a key demographic here. Remember, this is one of the reasons why the Democrats were panicking. Keep that up, guys. That's a good visual. There you go. This is one of the reasons why Democrats were panicking over Biden, because Biden lost the working class vote by just 4 points in 2020. They lost it massively. Hillary lost the working class massively in 2020. Remember, even if Hillary had gotten Barack Obama level Black support in 2016, she would have still lost, because she lost the white working class vote by that much. They defected. White working class, they were the foundation of the Democrat Party. Labor was the foundation of the Democrat Party since the New Deal for decades. They suddenly shifted over, voted for Trump in an unprecedented defection. Upwards of 200 counties in Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. And so Democrats recognize that the key to getting back into the White House is we've got to win back the working class, particularly the white working class. We don't have to win them, but we can't have these margins of like 17 points a deficit. We've got to get it into like 5, 4, 3. And Biden did that. Old Scranton Joe. I mean, you saw him the other day when he was putting on the Trump hat. I mean, he can yuck it up with, rural Pennsylvania voters. He can. He's old Scranton Joe. But then he just collapsed. He collapsed among this electorate. The Democrats started noticing in the polling going out about 6-7 months ago. They found that polling showed Biden had plummeted with the working class, particularly the non-college vote. He literally plummeted by double digits. He fell to a low. I believe he hit 17, if I recall. So that's one of the reasons why the Democrats wanted to get rid of Joe. They wanted to put someone else that could help recapture that relatively strong showing he had in 2020 with the working class, the non-college grad voter. Again, he came within 4 points of winning them, because they know if they don't, they can't win. The working class, particularly in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, are going to decide this election. But as it turns out, Kamala was the last person on the planet who could get that working class vote back. According to this latest New York Times poll, Kamala has slipped back to trailing Trump by 17 points with this very working class voter demographic that the Democrats thought they could get back by getting rid of Joe. And it didn't happen. Unbelievable. Talk about sweet irony. Now, obviously, we cannot get complacent here. The Democrats are desperate. They're getting more and more desperate every single day, and they're willing to do literally anything to win. And so as we approach the election, it's absolutely crucial that we stay informed, that we stay vigilant. So that's why today at 3:30 p.m., we're hosting the Stop the Steal online workshop. It's a critical session to ensure our election process remains secure. We've got Ray D'Agostino, a seasoned county commissioner in the key swing state of Pennsylvania, no less. He's got a deep expertise in election security. He's going to lead the workshop today. He's going to cover things like strategies for detecting and addressing election fraud and manipulation, the best practices for ensuring transparency and integrity in elections, effective ways to engage with local officials to support election integrity. Also, you'll have the opportunity to ask Ray any questions you have. So you'll be able to receive direct, actionable advice on how to protect our democratic process. So this live workshop, gang, it's absolutely free, but only if you're in our Insiders Club. If you're an Insiders member, this is one of the benefits you get. So don't miss out on this essential information. Join us at 3:30 p.m. today and be a part of this solution. Just click on the link below, become an insider, and I'll see you there at 3:30 p.m. Over to you. What questions do you have for me? You must have several questions. What do we got here, Josh? What do we got? Deborah, welcome, Deborah. And by the way, if you don't know, and another incentive to join our club, if you'd like to ask me your questions, click on that link below. Join any level of support that you like at fight.turleytalks.com. Any level of support, you'll be given immediately a link to our own private virtual platform that is totally censorship free, and you can ask me whatever you like, and I'll be happy to answer it right here. So, sorry. Let's go back to Deborah. Trump has proposed no taxes on overtime. This will benefit those that are hardworking people to whom go above the standard. Does not benefit salary employees, but may change their status to go hourly. Oh, that's interesting. How do you think employers and IRS will react? Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I don't think employers would be fine, because I think it further incentivizes their workers to work overtime. It's a brilliant strategy, because what it incentivizes all the way, right? So employers are going to hire those workers who are more prone and more inclined towards conscientiousness, to go above and beyond regardless. And now the government is giving them, and actually IRS in this case, I guess, or just, the tax code in general, will give them this incentive, this built-in incentive to actually go the extra mile and work overtime. It's wonderful. I think, again, Trump's whole economic platform is all about reawakening the American economy. Very, very Reagan-esque after 4 years of a Carter malaise. And that's, I think it's absolutely brilliant. How the IRS reacts, who gives a flip? Who cares about the IRS? Thanks, Deborah. Donnie, Dr. Steve, I see the Fox is at it again. They're saying that Cackles is now leading polls in Georgia and North Carolina. What say you? I got a mortgage. I'd bet on either one of those. Fox is a Rupert Murdoch corporatist globalist company that's fooled its audience for the last, nearly 20 years. There was a time that they were pretty good when we were more ideologically conservative, just coming out of the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, during the Clinton years, during the awesome Rush years, where you really had two contrasting visions for the country, the Gingrich versus the Clinton vision. Gingrich won because he brought Clinton over, and Clinton became a moderate. He signed the Defense of Marriage Act. He was pushing for spending restraint, balancing the budget, all that good stuff. That all ended after 9/11. Then Washington, D.C. became neocon central. And it became all of the ways that it used surveillance to keep other nations in check over the course of the Cold War. All of that to make sure that we push back against the Soviet Union. All those surveillance tactics started getting used at home. And then we started getting this neo-feudalized society of billionaires and bureaucrats who have total power over their population. And if you want to get anywhere in DC, you kiss that ring. You become Lindsey Graham. You become Dick and Cheney and his insufferable daughter. You become Joe Scarborough. You become ABC moderators. You kiss the ring of power. And so Fox News is kissing that ring. I mean, I don't think Greg Gutfeld is. I think there's plenty of people who are not. but the executives of Fox are. Make no mistake, no executive of Fox is going to be voting for Trump. So they're pushing these idiot polls. And just, yeah, I told you, I warned you about it on Wednesday. There's going to be a fundamental difference between the way the permanent political class, amplified by the legacy media, sees this election, and the way the people see this election. And we just have to keep our nose. We got it. What do you keep it? Your nose to the grind, as it were. I forget the expression, but we just got to keep our eye on the prize. I'll bring that. Pay no attention to that noise. But there is no way. I mean, again, they can flash polls like that of North Carolina, and it doesn't have anything even remotely to do with the reality on the ground of the actual voting that's taking place that shows a Trump blowout. Josh McKay, how is Jill Stein doing with spoiling the Muslim and far left vote? Has she climbed to the polls? Yeah, John, I haven't looked since. So I thought I did it yesterday. I thought I did a video yesterday on Jill Stein, marginally leading in all 7 swing states among Muslim voters, but significant leading among Michigan swing voters in Hamtramck, in Dearborn, that has the highest density of Muslim voters there. Hamtramck is actually an entirely Muslim city council. One of the first acts, ironically, was to ban the flying of the pride flag on any public property, even though every single one of them are Democrats. Very, very fascinating stuff. I've made that argument that the Democratic Party is actually going through its own tribalist sort of civil war, and is becoming, ironically, more far right in many ways, since their new politics is very, very tribalist and ethnocentric. But I haven't looked any updates, but she was significantly ahead by 4 or 5 points, if I recall. So mid single digits, which is pretty good lead. It's all you need to devastate a candidacy that's relying on 10, 20, 30,000 votes from that community. So anyway, yeah, I think she's going to be another spoiler again, like she was in 2016. It looks like it now. Josh, is the rumor that there's a bro inside ABC trying to give a sworn affidavit that Kamal Harris got sample questions true? We'll see. It's being widely reported on the dissident media that, yes, there's somebody who's got some evidence. We shall see. Richard, do you think the Democrats will get enough illegal immigrants to swing the election for Kamala? I don't think so. Rich Barris, Larry Schweikert, Robert Barnes, a number of polling analysts have been very, very dubious about that, because it's very easy to show, as we're seeing, it's very easy to show that illegal immigrants voted. Now, it's hard to show a few hundred here or there voted, but in the numbers that they would need to push back against a +2 Trump electorate, no, I don't see it. Again, not that they're not going to try, not that we may not be shocked on Wednesday. Again, one of the videos, a couple of videos I have planned over the next few weeks is, what do we do if Trump loses? We're going to have a plan B. So we're going to have to really, it might even be a live stream so we can all have a discussion about what to do if Trump loses. There are some very key acts of resistance, very effective, powerful resistance that we can do within the context of red sanctuary states that we're already seeing Texas implement against the Biden administration. Texas not alone, Tennessee and so forth. Number of places are just basically becoming micro states. They're becoming micro nations. They're becoming their own nation, and blocking out. Florida's doing the same thing, blocking out anything and everything that's coming down the pike from the federal government, challenging everything in court. Even if a court says, nope, you gotta obey that, then they just file another injunction and they just stop it again, whatever it is. So there's going to be things we'll need to talk about and prepare for. But at this point, I don't think illegals can. I'm not seeing any evidence that, I know there's some people, but again, this the right. You guys know the right does tend to have that Chicken Little mentality. The sky is falling now. The elite are coming. The deep state's going to take us out. If you want to go there, go there. And we need to prepare. We need that. Thank God for that. We do need to prepare. But then we also have to see what's actually happening right now. +2 Republican electorate is going to be very hard for the mass amount of illegal voting they would need to do. That could be easily proven. Oh, Polar, did you see the specially made Bluetooth earrings? I did. I don't know what to make. I'll be honest with you. So here's where I'm coming on that. And again, I may be wrong. I may be totally wrong. I just think in the end, she got the, I don't think she needed it. I didn't notice any pauses in between the answers. Now, she may have been getting some feedback while Trump was speaking. They may have told her, oh, interrupt him here or make your goofy face there, which obviously had a massive backlash. Because, Rich Barris was talking about this, just so you guys know, all the data shows really the only undecideds right now, you probably have figured this out, the only undecideds right now are men. Women, the female vote has already made up its minds. The men that have yet to make, it's of the undecideds, they're a preponderance of men, inordinately male. And most men were totally turned off from that debate with Kamala. They were pissed off. They were heated right along with Trump, the way he was getting sabotaged there. They were just the way Kamala was. I know it's artificial, and it's cosmetic, but that's, sorry, it's politics. It's politics of perception. So anyway, I just think in the end, she got the answer, or she got the questions ahead of time. Hell, I'll even be really blunt with you. I think she gave him the questions. I think she decided what questions that they were to ask. So either way, again, it's the same team, so it doesn't matter who gave it. So that's where I stand on that. Browning, Dr. Steve, did the Orwellian media reveal how much they loathe We the People? That's a great perception. Yes, that's what I tried to make the argument for in our first video on Wednesday morning. We had 2 real big blown up videos. It was really cool. Wednesday, I think it hit 600,000 views. And then our second one where the post-debate polls were all showing Trump was getting these bumps. It drove the media crazy. That got over 1 million views. We did that for our second one. I had to do that one later in the day because I needed to see the polls coming in. But and of course the response, the panels there, but the focus group, sorry. I made the argument you have to look at this debate through the lens of the Kennedy-Trump alliance, the Kennedy-Trump realignment, where both now the populist left and the populist right have come together to take down the establishment. We're not talking policies so much anymore. We're talking, and Trump, by getting rid of Roe v. Wade, has basically taken abortion off the table for this new alignment, because he's saying, well, just work it out in the states. So if you're in a blue state, go full pro-choice. If you're in a red state, go full pro-life. We're not going to get divided by this division conquer strategy that the legacy media and the powers that be in the permanent political class constantly inflict upon the people. So instead, we're now the people, and we no longer have this horizontal divide. Now we have this vertical divide, the people versus the permanent political class. And in that context, what a substantial portion of the country saw just by virtue of being part of this new alignment is they saw the establishment that they are opposed to, that they are united in overthrowing. They saw that establishment on full display that night. And I love the way you put it. It's just that establishment loathes the people because the people are all about taking them out of their positions of power and affluence. The people are a threat to their status at being in this at the top of the hierarchical structure of our neo-feudalized society. So I think you're absolutely right. I think it was a disaster for ABC, and I think it was a disaster for Kamala, because everybody recognized that she can't play by herself. She needs the assistance of these moderators, because were she to just were toe to toe with Trump, he would annihilate her. So, when you have the referee constantly stepping in when you're getting beaten up and then forcing you to go, to the other corner, and then maybe forcing you to put your arms down and let the other fighter get in a few shots. I mean, it's just, everybody's like, this isn't fair. This is as fixed as it gets. So no, I think you're right. I like how you put it. I think it didn't just reveal how nefarious the permanent political class is, but it revealed how much disdain they have for the will of the people. Marilyn Degatti, hey, Dr. Steve, I'm worried about the 20% fraudulent ballots in Pennsylvania. Also, the House pulled the SAVE Act out of the CR. Is there any hope? Yes, of course. Look, we don't know. The 20% fraud ballots in Pennsylvania are based on, one assessment. Trump certainly sent a note out saying, whoa, take a look at that. I don't know if that's accurate. We'll have to see. Again, whatever fraud is happening in 2024 doesn't compare to the fraud that took place in 2020. And in 2020, you had a plus, what was it, 2.4, 2.5 Democrat turnout. By the models we have now, we're going to have a +2 Republican turnout. We should be able to take care of that, no problem. Plus, if 20% of them are truly fraudulent, we should be able to do the groundwork needed, and that's where the RNC and Mike Whatley and Laura Trump said they have sent out hundreds of thousands of workers and lawyers, precinct workers and lawyers, to go and audit this vote as it comes in. So and come to the workshop today. Right, you're already a member, so come to the workshop today. It's absolutely free. It's there purely so we can get some action items to make sure that we can make sure to save this election and keep it integral. Oh, in terms of the SAVE Act, no, I don't expect anything. I don't expect anything good coming out from this current House. This current House are a bunch of clowns. They're the biggest clowns on the planet. They're in political paralysis. They're down to a margin of 4 or 5 in their majority. Mike Johnson can't do anything. You got too many effing rhinos there. We're just going to need to just have a massive do-over with a huge Trump victory, with him bringing several down tickets across the finish line, because we don't vote split tickets anymore. And so a lot of new fresh faces, fresh blood, as it were, riding his coattails, both in the Senate and the House. And we've got to just either, Mike Johnson gets with the program or get the hell out. We've just had it with this guy. So anyway. Frank, we're being warned by election officials that widespread U.S. mail issues may disrupt voting. I saw that. This after 4 years to fix, of course. And the fix is always in. The federal mail system is part of the federal deep state complex. It's seemingly a benign part, but it can be controlled, and it can be controlled from within. So this is obviously a question we're going to want to discuss today on our election protection seminar. So come on in at 3:30. Again, you're already a member, Frank. So come on in and check it out. It's and then ask your questions. That'd be a great question to ask, and what we can do about it. There should be no interruption whatsoever. None. If you can send Christmas cards on time, you can send in mail-in ballots, for heaven's sakes. Correct dog. Dr. Steve, I believe the Arizona polls are off with Kerry Lake. I do too, by the way. I believe they're still polling based off old numbers of registered Republicans and Democrats, which of course they always oversampled Democrats. With the 1 million dead or fake voter registrants all removed and the increase in Republican voters, I think Kari Lake is actually winning right now. What do you think? Yeah, we'll have to see. Again, I haven't been too privy to too much polling in Arizona. So my thing is, so Trump looks like he's going to take Arizona by 4, 5, maybe even 6 points. We'll see. I mean, the Republicans have a 6-point advantage, as I understand it right now. And voter registration has been absolutely through the roof in Arizona, particularly Maricopa County. So he wins, Maricopa win. I mean, Trump doesn't have to win. He just has to come within a margin of Maricopa County, and the rest of Arizona, which is deep, deep, deep red, will take care of it. So I think Kari's going to get, she's going to ride the coattails. I think he's going to be able to pull her past the finish line. So that's what I've been looking at. But you look like you're getting in more detail there, and I would trust your opinion on that. Rick Rack, how do I help my pastor, leader of a large multi-site church, open some eyes in the congregation to what's going on without alienating half of his flock? He's right there with us, but does not want to be seen as politically motivated. Yeah, I hear you, Rick. It's very, very, very frustrating. And they certainly don't have this problem in Russia, or on the other side, they don't have this problem in Ukraine. Yeah, it's hard, Rick. It's hard. Well, let's start practically. If your state allows for ballot harvesting, you can ask your pastor if you can have the church to be a site of ballot harvesting. This is what they do in Southern California. They use evangelical churches as sites of collecting all the ballots, and then elders or church leaders bring it to the polling places, hand deliver it to ensure its integrity. And then what we're finding is that a population that tends to vote what's now voting 82% Trump comes out like almost 100%, right? It's great to have a voting population that votes for you by 82%, but if only 60% of you are coming out, that's a massive, massive amount of votes we're missing. So that's where ballot harvesting has been enabling Republicans in even like +4 Democrat districts in Southern California to win. Because mail-in ballot has been the norm in California since 2018. Republicans got shellacked. Then California Republicans got shellacked. Then they adjusted and they adapted. And in 2020, they started winning. Remember, we almost took over the House precisely because of so many California Republicans, particularly Southern California Republicans, who were winning. So if your pastor would be open to the church being a ballot harvesting center, and then perhaps host and you can find somebody who can kind of come in and host a workshop for people to nudge them to vote Trump and to show, look, when it comes to Christian values, there's really there's not a lot left to surmise here. It's very stark. The problem your pastor is having is that the Christian faith and the Christian church in the United States over the last 3 to 4 decades has been effectively privatized. So ever since they kicked God out of the public schools, both in terms of prayer and Bible reading, ever since our schools were effectively de-Christianized, that was really the last step to effectively and totally consigning the church to the private sphere of life. So if you go to a medieval town or even an old, Puritan village in New England, the most prominent building in the city or the village was, of course, the church, right? The high steeple, whatever, the grand cathedral, you name it. Whereas if you look at modern urban planning today, where's the church? It's nowhere to be found. And if you do find it, It's in the place of consumption. It's right by dry cleaners and pizzerias. And the problem today is that the church, now being consigned to the private sphere of life, has been consigned to the realm of consumerism. And so your pastor is under enormous pressure not to alienate, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it bluntly, not to alienate any of his customers. He doesn't want to alienate his customers. Now, I know they're parishioners, and by God's grace, he's preserved the church even in the midst of this devastating privatization. But your pastor is under enormous pressure not to alienate his customers. Because again, you have pizzerias, you have dry cleaners, and then you have First Methodist, or you have Bible Fellowship. And the Bible Fellowship is under every bit the consumerist pressures as any private company, as any business. So that's and it is, this privatization of the faith is absolutely wreaked havoc on our ability to proclaim truth. Because having been consigned to the private sphere of life, you can no more proclaim truth than can Burger King, than can Pizza Hut, than can a yoga class. Because truth is public, it's not private. Truth is objective, it's not subjective. Truth applies to all, it doesn't apply to only some. And the private sphere is objective. I'm sorry, the private sphere is subjective, and it applies to only some. It doesn't apply to all. So that's the problem he's running into. Anelia, question. Why would Nate Silver not go along with the Democrat narrative favoring Kamala? Is he reading the writing on the wall and does not want to risk his credibility? Or do you think he's showing some integrity? Oh, okay. Well, I would have seen those as almost similar. We'll see how it plays out. Some are warning us he's a clown, he's a charlatan, so he's just setting us up to then go full-blown Kamala over the next few weeks. Again, this is all psyop, right? If he doesn't, then I think I'm with you on that. I think he's just reading. I mean, he's like, look, first and foremost, I'm a forecaster, and and which he hasn't. He was disastrous in 2020 as well as 2016. But I mean, yeah, I think he had Biden winning by 20 points in 2020. It was ridiculous. But I think he may be erring on the side of integrity at this point, but we'll see. I don't know. It's just very suggestive that he certainly hasn't gone the direction that all of his Democrat buddies want him to go. Bill, Dr. Steve, fact check. Since 2020, violent crime up 37%, rape up 42%, robbery up 63%, aggravated assault up 55%, violence up 32%, motor vehicle theft up 43%. And Harris during the debate said crime was down, along with the moderators. Your thoughts? Yeah, this is the astonishing gaslighting led discrepancy between the people and the permanent political class, and why even more and more non-white working class voters are coming and joining our movement, because they're starting to get red pilled. It's starting to dawn on them. So, for the permanent political class, everything is a narrative in terms of its communicative network. Everything's a narrative. And they believe, and they were right to believe, that they can force you into compliance if they find the right narrative. It happened after 2000 or 9/11, 2001, where they convinced you to become a subject of a surveillance state by persuading you that you and your loved ones were in physical danger. They did the same thing during the pandemic, where they convinced you to do all kinds of crazy things, because if you didn't, you were killing your grandmother. So they use fear and threat, fear and risk as inherent to their narrative that that gets us to comply. At the other level, there is this thing that they've relied on that they thought worked for 2020 and originally for the pandemic, and that is this notion of the fact, and that they alone are the class of experts who can determine what is factual and what is not. You and I are clowns the moment we try to claim to pretend to have any factual knowledge, that is objective empirical knowledge, irrespective of the persuasion or the proclivities of the knower. They alone possess such skill and competence to determine what are facts, and they, as experts, have determined that the crime stats are down. Now, what unfortunately I think they're going to be finding out the hard way is nobody believes that anymore. Nobody believes that. Everyone feels, they sense that crime is up. They know it. They get it. And they're seeing videos upon videos of it on social media, particularly on X, which is getting millions upon millions more views than anything network news puts in front of us, and therefore is able to bypass the gatekeeping role that the network news anchors used to have and cable news anchors used to have in terms of information access. So I think what you just did in putting forward those statistics, 9 out of 10 people would assent to far before they assent to, oh no, crime is actually down. Nobody believes that anymore. Just go into any even proximate drugstore, pharmacy store that's even proximate to the inner city and take a look at its shelves. It looks like a prison. But crime is down. Nobody bothers it. Dorian, Dr. Steve, give me some hope that the Democrats' massive cheating and judges' uselessness won't make all the poll leads and huge rallies useless. Dorian, I will give you that hope at 3:30 p.m. today. You need to come to this free training that we have on Stop the Steal. Your election integrity, free election protection, Stop the Steal, 3:30, and then ask precisely that question of our former county commissioner who has dealt directly with election integrity issues. Benton Dr. Taylor Marshall, Catholic apologist, of course, stated recently that America is under God's judgment due to over 60 million abortions. Kamala wants abortion on demand. Democrats are the party of death. Are the Republicans fearing addressing the real issue of abortion? No, I don't think so. I get what you're saying, Brent. Absolutely. I'm as pro-life as pro-life comes. I'm with Dr. Taylor Marshall absolutely on it. Our Christian tradition being rooted in the incarnation, being rooted in God becoming man in the womb, hence why we revere Mary and have such a high view of Mary, because the womb is where it all begins. The womb is a symbol of where the womb is the literal place where we all begin. And then the church has always been seen as the womb where we become born again through water and word and sacraments of blood and bread and the like, bread and wine. We are pro-life by very nature, because life was sanctified by the incarnation at the moment of conception. That said, what Trump has made clear is this election is about taking down the deep state and the establishment. We unite the people, and we do not go near any wedge issue. We unite the people, both left and right, the horizontal divide. We unite them around a new divide, vertical, the people versus political class, and we knock out that political class once and for all. Once they are knocked out, once the administrative state has been dismantled, once the deep state has been defeated, which is a very powerful apparatus, once that's happened, then we can have a wonderful time debating our differences over abortion. But do not let this issue get in the way of the prize. The prize is the deep state. That's what the establishment. That it's what was on display for everyone to see on ABC. That is what we're taking down. So don't, are we under God's? There's no question. You can't kill off 60 million if you're unborn without judgment. There's just no question about that. My mind as one who operates with classical Christian frames of reference. So let us pray that God will stay that judgment, give us a reprieve, enable what needs to be done, so to be able to restore integrity and virtue back to governance. And then I think this takes care of itself. Richard, Dr. Steve, why do they keep bringing up Gen 6, abortion, climate change, etc.? Nobody cares. No, but Democrats do. And so they're trying to rally the Democrat base. That's all they're trying to do. They didn't convince any undecideds. So, I mean, again, it's just, even Meghan McCain said, nobody cares about any of this. Nobody cares. Why are you asking these questions? Even Meghan McCain saw it. It's just absurd. Again, I do not see how anyone could ever even, any Republican could ever even imagine doing another network news CNN debate. CNN, to their credit, handled themselves ably and amicably. I think they were, and very professional. They asked their questions, got their answers, went to the next. I thought they asked relatively good questions, relatively good. But ABC was a disaster, absolute disaster. And all they did was end up, I think, destroying themselves. Patriot Jules, Dr. Steve, do you see how the Ohio cops keep putting up videos of Haitians eating animals in the 9/11 calls? Only on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook is censoring. Of course they are, because they're part of the regime. I mean, Zuckerberg could run around saying, "Oh, I think Trump's a badass. He's so cool. Oh no, I know. I cooperated with the FBI during COVID, and I shouldn't have. I mea culpa. But they're still doing exactly. It's as if he just doubled down. So no, I'm with you. Instagram, TikTok, X. That's all you need, and you'll reach hundreds of millions. And that's what they're doing. It's awesome. We get to bypass the legacy media. They no longer have a monopoly of information access. Wreck Dog, Dr. Steve, Benny Johnson suggested Trump in the next debate that he go full Vivek. For instance, Afghanistan was the biggest embarrassment in U.S. history, and you let it. Do you want to apologize to the American people and the families of the Abbeygate 13? The mic is yours. Go. What do you think about that strategy? Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think there's going to be another debate. I don't think so. I don't even think the Americans population want. Again, the only undecideds are men, and men found Kamala to be repulsive that night. They all went with Trump after that. So no, I don't. But no, he could have gone in that direction. I thought that'd been great, but he had the chance, but he didn't for whatever reason. But no, I don't think there's going to be another debate. I just think it's pointless. It was. Who are they going to do it with? Nobody. They don't trust anyone. They don't even trust Fox. They've gotten so ridiculous. ROT Core, Dr. Steve, in reference to your video about building Trump's new future cities, where do you think are the best places to build them? In red states? Yes, in order to increase their electoral power, or in red sections of blue states in order to remove. Oh, I didn't even think about that. In order to move in more Republicans and offset the already established blue cities. Where do you think that would be built, excluding the above? So it's a great question. I had assumed it was just going to be red states because but Micah, sorry, our producer Micah just shot me a note. You do know we're live on Facebook right now, haha, by the way. So anyway, sorry, Facebook, sorry, don't get too upset. Yeah, I had just assumed it was going to be red states because I thought blue states could try to thwart and block the efforts and tie it up and bring it to court and all that sort of stuff. But what you said is just awesome. Long term, it would be awesome. Talk about being able to flip a blue state red, just create a new mega city, a cosmopolitan center that tilts the population balance of power around a freedom city. It would be awesome. I did a video. I don't know if you caught it on it was yesterday. I think it was our third video on how cities are turning right. It's happening more and more. It's not just here in the United States. It's happening in Europe as well. And one of the reasons is because they're becoming more ethnic oriented, and the ethnicities are creating their own neighborhoods and their own communities, so Orthodox Jews and Chinatown and so forth, and barrios and the like. And what's happening is those neighborhoods are, what we're finding, are much more traditionalist. They're very religious, very traditionalist, and they hate woke. They hate all things woke. And so they see Republicans as sort of the bulwark to protect them against these woke progressives. So they've been voting. The percentage of the vote of Republicans just in New York City alone, I believe, has gone up 20 or 30%. It's absolutely stunning. Now, again, the margins were so huge for so many years, like 70, 80%. So it's going to take some time, but a Republican surge like that, it's pretty incredible. And even in Brooklyn, they won 3 out of 4 Republicans won 3 out of 4 state legislature seats in New York, largely because of Haredi Jewish, Orthodox Jewish, Chinese, Asian votes and Latino votes moving in their direction because they despise all things woke. So I'm a big believer in this city. I love rural America as well. I'm in the earshot of pastoral Pennsylvania and the Amish. So I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of space in general, just how it works out as long as it's sacred. But I do love cities, and I want to see more and more. I want to see the rise of the MAGA city. I want to see the rise of a cosmopolitan conservatism that works in harmony and complements the rural traditionalism that we're seeing. Again, we're already seeing it in Moscow and St. Petersburg and Verona. Verona, ironically, in relation to one of the last questions we got, Verona, Italy, right? Romeo and Juliet. So it's a bustling, very, very popular city, just hour west of Venice. Verona is a pro-life city. It's declared an officially pro-life city. My colleague Ralph Cochran was actually involved in a pro-family march all around the city with tens of thousands of Italians coming out celebrating the family. So amazing stuff is happening at the metropolitan level. And if we can do that, then the left will be gone permanently, as far as I know. So great question. I don't know if the blue states like California or New York would allow it. I think they would put up a lot of roadblocks, but I would assume it's going to be the big, certainly the big 4. Well, I could see even the big 5 right now. So Texas, Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma may end up getting the biggest, the tallest skyscraper in the United States. Tennessee, so Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Florida. I could see those right away. Be really cool. Georgia's been getting a lot more urban, so that's why it's been going more blue. Be really cool to have a freedom city, independent city there to kind of offset that, but still get all of the benefits of cosmopolitan life there. ROT Dr. Steve, please pronounce the P in ROT Corp. Sorry, short for ROT Corporations International. ROT Corp. Maybe I'll tell you about it one day. I hope to. I would love to meet you. We do have a meetup coming in. I will tell you about in a couple of weeks in Pennsylvania. Come on out to that ROT Corp. Edward Marone, I'm concerned about the upcoming presidential election 2022. There's a lot of talk about a red wave that didn't materialize. What's going to prevent the same thing from happening this time? Very good question, Edward. And of course, it could happen. But what was specific to 2022 that we did not see in 2016 or in 2028 or in 2020 that we did see in 2018, these midterms, is that the Republican base has gone from a high propensity voter base to a low propensity to no propensity voter base. So what am I talking about? When pollsters examine the electorate, they always ask you if you voted in the last election. So you get those LV polls that come out. That means likely voters. Likely voters are voters that have voted in every election, say in the last 4, 5, 6 election cycles. Those are what are known as high propensity voters. Republicans used to have those back in the 90s, back in the 2000s. They were like the Christian Coalition. People were just pumped up, ready to vote. They voted in every election. They had meeting places where they would think about politics, all that good stuff. And also those who were very concerned about the economy, the Wall Street types. Then they would ask you, have you voted in the last election? And then you get answers like, well, no, I voted 4 years ago. But that I didn't vote. That was the first time I voted in 6 years. Okay, that's a low propensity voter. We don't know if they're coming out or not. And then you have those, no, I haven't voted forever. I don't know, I voted 16 years ago. Now. That's what we call no propensity voter. That's somebody who doesn't come out. What stunned everyone with the Brexit vote back on June 23rd, 2016, what stunned everyone was that all the polls showed that Brits were going to overwhelmingly vote to stay in the EU. The Brexit referendum was going to go down in flames. But there were undercurrents of the polling that, and those were all, by the way, likely voter models. The undercurrents of the polling saying, no, something's happening here. There are people who are signing up to vote that haven't ever voted before. And people who rarely voted over the last, say, 6 years, they're all coming out. They're all registering. They can't wait to vote. And they're saying they're going to vote to leave. When June 23rd, when the sun set, when the moon rose, midnight, June 23rd, June 24th, came, to everyone's astonishment, more people came out to vote on that referendum than had ever voted in the history of UK elections. It was the most massive turnout anyone had ever seen. And the experts, the pundit class, said the bigger the electorate, the more the margin of staying in the EU, because that means all the cities are emptying out to vote for you. London is coming out in all of its mass. To their shock, what did they see? If I recall, 4-point margin. The referendum passed. And it passed. They voted to leave. More Brits voted to leave the EU than it ever voted for any party or any politician. It passed because the non-propensity or low propensity voters came out en masse. There was finally something to vote for. Finally, it wasn't a choice between two establishment hacks. Finally, you gave me something I could vote for. Fast forward 3-4 months, November 8th, 2016. What shocked the Hillary camp, what shocked the pundit class is the same thing happened here. Trump, and this was Trump's strategy all along. That's why he was holding rallies in counties in Wisconsin and Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Iowa, and Ohio that never had a presidential candidate ever in the history of the nation ever visit them. These are low propensity to no propensity voters. And when Trump said, I need your vote, they came out in such mass again in 2020 that Biden, with all the shenanigans, still only managed to win by 40,000 votes. The Republican Party cannot yet do that. Trump can bring out the low propensity, no propensity voter, but Mitch McConnell, Mike Johnson, right? They can't do that. So 2022 comes around and they stayed home. Carrie Lake didn't figure out how to bring it. She did a great job. Came within 10,000 votes, but she had to have 100,000 vote cushion. She didn't do it. They didn't get out the low propensity, no propensity voters the way they came out for Trump. Right. So that's why you can expect further frustrations in midterms now. J.D. Vance actually wrote a really nice piece on this the day after the midterms in 2022. And by the way, again, where they figured out how to bring out the low to no propensity voter, like in North Carolina, they got super majorities in their legislature. First Republican super majority in North Carolina ever. By the way, guess who oversaw that? Mike Whatley. Mike Whatley was the chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party. He is now the chairman of the RNC, and he wants to make sure he's doing the same thing across the board. So pray about it and then do your part. And then come to the workshop today and ask Ray DiAgostino, how can I make sure that I did my part to bring out that low propensity, no propensity voter? Again, I don't know if we have to, because Trump, no one turns out the vote like Trump. No one. We just haven't seen it. We saw it in 2016, 2020. We've never seen anyone turn out the vote like Trump. So, but that's what we got to do. Let's pray for that. It's going to be so epic. It's going to blow our minds again. That's what we seem to be seeing already in North Carolina and Florida, but we'll keep our eye on it. Jin, why doesn't Trump ask Kamala to account for the 109,000 children illegals, and where are they? Can she account? This is bad. This is as bad as abortion. Yeah, no, it's horrific. Yeah, that's what a lot of us were very frustrated with at that debate. Is Trump took too many baits, and he let the sabotage, I think, get to him, and he got pissed off. And he was off his game. Not all of it. The beginning, first half hour, he was pretty good. He was really good. His final speech, his final plea to the voter was excellent, brilliant. But those were frustrating aspects of the debate, no question. Patriot Jules, Steve, would you please alert voters in Illinois, only state that I know for sure as an election judge, to check their ballots for signatures? Okay, so guys, hear ye. If you are in Illinois, check your ballots for signatures. There has to be 2 black ink signatures from check-in judges and 2 red signatures from ballot judges. Tabulator won't catch the ink change. Recount in 20 caused ballots to be tossed because of this problem. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Patriot Jules. So everybody make sure you take, those of you in Illinois, take note of what Patriot Jules is alerting us of. Wreck Dog, Dr. Steve, if the sewer rats do steal the election, do you see an armed second revolution or red state secession and red areas of blue states becoming more constitutional sanctuary states? I don't think we survive as the United States after another stolen election. I'm with you, Rockdale. I don't think there's going to be an armed conflict, just because, in the end, the deep state, if they wanted to, they could crush that very ruthlessly and brutally with the military. But I do think that the powers that be, the elites, the regime, will have completely lost any semblance of legitimacy. And we've talked about the absolute need for any state to have legitimation. Even Kim Jong-un has a high degree of legitimation. A lot of people don't recognize that or realize that. The CCP in China have a very, very high level of legitimation. If not, they would inevitably go the way of the Soviet Union. They would collapse. They would go the way of the Berlin Wall. Delegitimation is the single most effective way of eventually imploding a regime. Regimes require trust and confidence. At the very least, they'll bribe you for it. But they got to have your trust and confidence. If they don't, they're shot. Because then in the end, there's more of us than them. And that's what happened with the Soviet Union. So I think they will have lost. I think if they win this election, and that's one of the things I want to talk about. If they win this election, they will have won a battle. They will have lost the war. Because already, it doesn't matter. It's already baked into the cake. If Trump loses, we can point to, well, he lost because of all the weaponized legalism, all the lawfare. If you just stayed the hell out of it, yeah, we wouldn't have had a problem. He would have won. Or he lost because you switched out the candidate that 14 million Democrat voters voted for in the primary. You got rid of him and put in another. You did that. He lost because of a rigged debate, a blatantly rigged debate, and everybody saw it. It's objective. You just, how many times did they interrupt Kamala? How many times did they interrupt Trump? So it's already baked in the cake. If she wins, delegitimation will go through the roof. Or a better way of putting it is that any semblance of legitimation they still have will absolutely implode. And that will then set up, I think, opportunities to create micronation, a micronation or micronations, microstates, microcity states within the United States as temporary, like literally as monasteries during the fall of the West, during the fall of Rome. And I'm already giving away a little bit of the thinking that I've done on this, but basically you're going to have the barbarians take down Rome, set themselves up in it, as it were. And then the question is, what do you do? I mean, if you've lost Rome in 476, the last Roman emperor is deposed, what do you do? Well, ironically, you had monasteries. And monasteries back then were hugely important. And they were very popular. Entire towns and cities were built around monasteries because monasteries preserved the culture. They had the libraries. They preserved the manuscripts, the music manuscripts, the art. They preserved learning. They preserved science. They preserved. So we're looking now for vehicles and platforms of preservation until eventually this blue rot implodes. And it will implode. We're seeing it in the cities. So red states are going to have to be arcs that create sanctuary states that build administrative and legal barriers to anything that comes from Washington, D.C. Anything and everything needs to be countered and thwarted. And then we just wait for that. We have to wait them out for them to rot out. The irony is, even if they were to give amnesty to the 20 million migrants here, whatever they are, 30 million, whatever they are, the irony is the vast majority of them are conservative Catholic. That's the irony. That's what's already happening. And so it's just a matter of time before they actually end up creating a new Christian alliance, conservative Christian alliance, to take them out. But that's going to take time. So I think that's what we're going to have to work out. But this is an incredibly consequential election. Rot Corp, Dr. Turley, in reference to the people versus political class, I know we have a good idea who that means, But what to make sure we are specific on who? There are politicians and billionaires who are relatively politically active, so they're probably not that bad. Michael Jordan said it best: Republicans buy shoes too. Yeah. No, I know. I don't have names per se, I mean, outside of, but you've got your politicians. Then you've got this entire deep state apparatus, which I think is just an appropriate term because half of them are probably in bunkers underneath Washington, D.C. But then you have this entire unelected bureaucrat world of hundreds and thousands of employees that are the ones that really run Washington, D.C. You have a military industrial complex that protects it all while at the same time making lots and lots of money. It makes lots and lots of money when all the generals that are in the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the like, they end up retiring, and then they get on the board of one of the big, five, the Lockheed Martins and so forth, that make all the military equipment that get the hundreds of billions of dollars sent to them every year. Remember, military used to be very Republican. Now they are very Democrat because Democrats are the caretakers of the establishment, and that's all they care about at this point. So you've got the military industrial complex. You've got the billionaires that come out of that. You've got the corporations that are working increasingly closely with the government to impose on the population strictures, particularly speech strictures, that no politician could impose because they're limited by the Constitution, but Facebook isn't. So Facebook can censor us in ways that, Chuck Schumer couldn't. So this is your complex that's going on there. And then there's a spiritual element with the wokeness, where you have a new religious fundamentalism that's imposed through the new priestly class, which is a clerisy class and pseudo-intellectual class rather than a clerical class. And so that's the basic structure of a globalist world order. And then there's interconnectivity, where they interconnect into Davos, they interconnect into Brussels, and then they form this massive network, primarily through cities, primarily through the big metropolises, to enact all the policies that they would want to enact, that always have one thing in common, and that is it always ends up amassing more power and affluence for the elite few. But in terms of names, I mean, you got the Schwabs, you've got the Gates. Mark Cuban is doing his best to try to join. I think he's only worth about $2 billion or $3 billion, so he's a small time player in that sense. But and then all the Hollywood elites, Oprah's up there, and then any Democrat more or less, and then the establishment Republicans, anybody's in the military industrial complex, any leadership in the armed forces, they're all pretty much part of that at this point. Olga, how could the military and police crush the people? The numbers are significantly smaller. They're now badly trained and patriots outnumbered. Oh, no, absolutely, Olga. The Soviet Union found that out very quickly, that if the people finally had enough, no, there's not. I mean, you even had soldiers inside the Soviet Union defect on the side of the people. So, no, I'm with you 1,000%. I mean, if the people reach critical mass, there's nothing I think the state can do. But until the question is, have the people reached critical mass? I don't know. The country is still relatively evenly divided. We have the advantage on the electoral college, but when you bring in the cities, I mean 45% of the population, 47% of the population looks like they are ideologically zombies. They really buy into this woke insanity. Now, again, the good news is wokeness is corrosive, and corrosive things eventually corrode. Wokeness is rot, and rotten things rot out, so it has no future by definition. But it's going to, I think it is going to cause tremendous damage as long as 45% of the population buys into it. And when I say buy into it, not even buy into it intellectually, but buy into it electorally. So Bill Maher is so intellectually confused that he is one of the most outspoken opponents of wokeness, but consistently votes for the party that empowers wokeness. He's like Richard Dawkins, who calls himself a cultural Christian, lamenting the loss of Europe's Christian culture, all the while spending all of his intellectual effort at undermining the very belief that undergirds that culture. It's just absurd. But that's what I mean. I mean, the kind of thinking that pervades our society today is just very banal, and it's very parochial, and it's extremely myopic. Myopic meaning it zeroes in on one thing, but it zeroes in on another thing, but it can't necessarily see their connection. And that is it, gang. All right, so make sure you show up today, 3:30 p.m. Don't wait. Click on that link below and sign up on our wonderful fight.turleytalks.com. You sign up for our Courageous Conservative Club, and you sign up for any level of support, and you're going to have immediate access to Stop the Steal workshop with Ray D'Agostino today at 3:30 p.m. So make sure this is the last chance. Click on that link below, sign up, and then it's absolutely free. After that, it goes behind a paywall, and it's only given to our gold members. So it's absolutely free to everyone who signs up with our Courageous Conservatives Club. So make sure to click on that link below, sign up for any level of support, and I'll see you at 3:30 p.m. God bless, gang. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you.